Congressman Joe Courtney is backing a bill that he says would help authorities find abducted children.
And it would also help law enforcement officials get access to the resources they need to bring those children home safely. News 8's Tina Detel has our story.
When police first get word of an abducted child, they hit the ground running. But as time goes by, sometimes those leads get a little colder. But there is proposed legislation now which may help police get the abducted child home faster. Oftentimes when you see an Amber Alert issued, a child is abducted by a parent or relative.
Familial abduction is emotionally traumatic to children.
If passed, the Recovering Missing Child Act would allow police to use a court order to obtain a person's address from his or her income tax return. This legislation reminds Chris Lau of a case from 20 years ago when she found an abducted child because her father was arrested for a traffic violation.
She did not actually know her exact birth date. She didn't really even know what her real name was, because what he would do is he would ask her to use aliases, and she complied. That was her dad. And
Lau says the girl mother greatly. The U.S. Treasury Department looked at 1,700 parental abductions and found in more than a third the abducted child was listed as a dependent on tax returns.
We leave no stone unturned, and having access to otherwise inaccessible records can make the difference in a child's life.
And Congressman Joe Courtney says it won't cost taxpayers a thing.
And if anything, it'll save resources because a lot of investigative time is being spent trying to follow up leads, which could be short-circuited by just getting the address of where the child is.
Just like legislators, police departments all across the board here in southeastern Connecticut are backing this bill as well, along with New London police officers, officers from Groton and Waterford as well. We're also here to show their support.
Children caught up in custody battles sometimes go missing, but not in the eyes of the federal government. That's because oftentimes the non-custodial parent claims the missing child on their federal tax return. Now the Center for Missing and Exploited Children wants to make it a little easier for police to access those documents and return the child. Congressman Joe Courtney was in New London today talking about the Recovering Missing Children Act. He's working to drum up support to get it passed in Washington.
What we're changing is tax confidentiality laws, which, you always have to be very careful. But at this point, there's nothing has surfaced openly in opposition to it. Right now, the biggest problem we have is really moving anything in D.C. because obviously the budget stalemate has really sort of backed up a whole host of issues.
Courtney goes on to say an active missing child case and a warrant from a judge would be needed in order for law enforcement to access tax returns.
New tonight. 5, the faces of Connecticut's missing children. Their pictures are out there for everyone to see, along with when they disappeared and where. But there's one piece of critical information local police departments cannot use. And now they're hoping a proposed law will change that. Channel 3 New London Bureau Chief Kevin Hogan is live in New London now with the story. Kevin?
Today's New London police say they investigate at least 1 to 2 child abductions a year. Typically, it's a case where a parent will abduct a child. Now, they say the problem that they always run into, they can't get the new address to that parent. So, new legislation called the Recovering Missing Child Act will allow federal agencies to share that information with police agencies. There's a new push that would make it easier for police to get critical information they need to help find missing children. The new law would make it legal for the IRS to release information to law enforcement agencies, information from tax returns like a parent's address. 2nd District Congressman Joe Courtney is co-authoring the new legislation called the Recovering Missing Children Act, giving detectives access to that critical info that could likely solve 1/3 of the nation's 1,700 annual parental abductions.
Often these situations involve custody conflicts and family disputes that lead to children in danger.
New London detective Matt Galante says on average they investigate 1 to 2 family abduction cases a year.
All about time and getting the word out to local, state, federal authorities and trying to follow up with cases as quickly as possible. And legislation such as this is definitely going to be a great tool for us to use in the future.
In the past 10 years, the National Center for Exploited and Missing Children says Connecticut has had 10 active cases, including the 2001 disappearance of Bridgeport native Bianca LeBron.
And whatever tools we can have access to, I think are going to make a difference.
Now, the Recovering Missing Child Act, that is only proposed legislation. It is not yet law. Live at the Mobile Newsroom in New London, Kevin Hogan, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.